In theory, if you were to upload the best video of all time, you could potentially get 8.1 billion views. I'm Vexing. I'm a YouTube strategist with over 2 billion views under my belt. I'm going to be explaining a pretty high level concept that a lot of people might know about, but might not, and it'll help you get views if you understand this. So, going over total addressable markets, what they mean. So in theory, the population of Earth is 8.1 billion people. So if you made, a piece of content that could be seen by everyone, that could be understood by everyone, you could, in theory, get 8.1 billion views. Obviously, it's not going to necessarily work because there's age demographics where people under 4 aren't going to be sentient enough to watch the video. And if you don't make the video in every language so it's understandable, people aren't going to watch it because they don't understand. Also, a big issue is if they can't watch it, it's not going to work, which brings me to the next point, which is YouTube users. There are only 2.5 billion people on YouTube. Of those 2.5 billion people, it's broken down into different audience demographics from the language they speak, the culture they're from, their interests that they have, and a bunch of other things. So again, in theory, if you did this, you might be able to get 2.5 billion people to watch your piece of content. And there are some videos that have, billions of views, like Baby Shark, for example, I think 7 billion views. But that's because you get repeat viewers, and it's the way it's attributed is not 1-to-1, right? They're technically unique viewers, yes, but it's a lot of returning viewers as well. So there are videos with over 2.5 billion views on YouTube, because, like I said, repeat viewers and whatnot. But from there, even if you did make the perfect video, it probably won't hit all 2.5 billion users, and that is because of language markets. So your video is only going to be really watched by people who speak that language, and there are some people who are let's say they are from France but they speak English, or they are from Spain or Mexico and they speak English, right? So that they'll watch your video. So there's some definite market overlap. But of all the people on Earth, there's 1.5 billion people that speak English, roughly. So, in theory, if you uploaded a video to YouTube of the 2.5 billion users, and let's say every English-speaking person used YouTube, not the case, but hypothetically, you could hit 1.5 billion people as your total addressable market. And as a matter of fact, Mr. Beast, I think, is pretty close to that to an extent with the Squid Game video that has almost 500 million views. So he almost has 33% market saturation of the English market. And it's not necessarily the case, and we'll be talking about that later. But in theory, if you upload a video, you could potentially reach 1.5 billion English speakers. They all had YouTube, and it was in English. Except that's not the case, again, because it is niched down even further to niche interests. So, for example, there's tech, gaming, and business. Let's say there's 550 million people interested in technology across the world. 200 million people across the world interested in gaming, and let's say 75 million people across the world interested in business. So with that being said, if you made the perfect video that was a tech video, and it was let's say, translated in every language, you could potentially hit 550 million people. That's likely never going to happen, but the possibility is there. And going further, we have the gaming. So there's 1.5 billion people who speak English. There are 200 million people that consume gaming content on a daily basis on YouTube, and potentially of those of that total addressable market, there are 75 million people who are interested in both gaming and that speak English. So if you're a gaming YouTuber, you have a potential total addressable market of 75 million people. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because a lot of people will upload videos to YouTube and they expect to get views. They're like, I'm going to go get a lot of views. This makes a lot of sense. In reality, what they are not understanding is that there are caps to how many views you can get because of total addressable markets. And I'm going to be explaining at the end of this video why I think total addressable market is actually a dumb metric and how you can finesse it to a degree. So moving on, what about videos that are exceptional, that break out of the total addressable market? This is Tom Scott video. This video has 72,166,811 views. Obviously, it's 72 million views from 4 years ago. And I can promise you without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, this video for sure has more than just English-speaking viewers. You can go check the comments to check that if you want. And the reason why is because some videos actually break out of their total addressable market because of their interest and their exceptionalism. This is such a weird and interesting video because this video is telling me how many views it has, and Tom Scott basically says it's a Python code. It's not too hard, right? But it's really interesting because it breaks out of just the English-speaking audience, where he's predominantly English and he's predominantly educator. So he's an English speaker who has a predominantly education audience. So it's a niche of English, which is education. And then potentially it's even a niche of education if you want to break down the exact type of education that he has and that he produces. But this is clearly broken out of his total addressable market because we can see it on his average views. You can see in the comments of the videos that they're not necessarily all English or they're translated. And from there, you can functionally be like, okay, he has beat the total addressable market because this video was so exceptional and it was so easy to understand for everyone. It was the lowest common denominator. There was no preconceived notion that you needed to have. There's no information prior to this that you needed to watch this video. You didn't really even need to speak English to watch this video. You could translate the title and it'd be interesting, right? You know, this video has billion views. Like that's a pretty easy one for like everyone, regardless of language, to watch, and it's a pretty interesting video regardless. So I mean, like, yeah, there's like some cultural things that like might be holding you back, but in theory, like this video is a good video that kind of displays the fact that you can break out of your children's market if the video is exceptional enough and easy enough to understand to everyone. And a great way to do that consistently is what Mr. Beast has done with the Squid Game video. So he took something that was already trending. I mean, obviously, yeah, like that's an easy one, right? He took a trending thing, he made a video about it, right? You know, money thing that was relevant in real life, like that's just gonna crush. I'm not gonna get into like, you know, the formattation of it. Maybe I will one day, but this is a banger video and it has 622 million views. It's more than I thought. And essentially what he's done here is he focused on everyone, because when Squid Game was hyped, everyone was watching it. And this is like came out like I think 3 to 6 months later. So like there's still a lot of interest about like Squid Game and whatnot, right? So like even if you're from like Spain, France, Italy, whatever, you might have watched it and like that direct translation of it, because it's just interesting, right? Like the actual core concept of Squid Game is like roughly interesting to like a lot of people, depending on your scenario and whatnot. And then it's also interesting outside of that because it was just a good show and everyone was talking about it on social media. So like you can use kind of all these like, you know, different factors, and you can essentially beat the total addressable market. And Mr. Beast's main total addressable market is English speaking entertainment, right? It was pretty big, right? Like that's like, you know, potentially 500 million views consistently. Obviously, you know, there's some people who don't like, you know, his fast-paced talking or his energy, and obviously I know he's changed that, but back in the time it was very much like, you know, the Mr. Beast style, if you will, the quintessential style, instead of the storytelling style that we have now. And you know, I mean, obviously that's potentially reflected in the views. But the interesting thing here is that at a point you become capped in your total addressable market, and the main reason that you're potentially capped in the total addressable market is languages, actually. And a way that you can break out of your total addressable market consistently is if you translate your videos. And I've seen this time and time again, where by translating your videos, I work with an animator who's translated into like other languages like Spanish, French, etc. And you know, we see results there, and it breaks out of like his total addressable market of just like specifically English speakers who are interested in anime, and then you get to like, you know, the native languages and the potential there. Where it's like, you know, there are like, I don't know, like 200 million people who speak French or whatever it may be. And then from that, like, you know, maybe like 10% of them are interested in anime. So like 20 million people interested in anime, and of anime, like the specific anime he talks about, that might be like, you know, 10% of that. So maybe there's 2 million people that are interested in it, but like only maybe like, you know, a percentage of that actually like will watch that content because they don't want to deal with like the translation, because it can potentially off due to like, you know, cultural differences and like translations not being 1-to-1. But in essence, you can actually break out of your culture's market by changing languages. And this is, I mean, exactly what Mr. Beast does. If I go here, yeah, I mean, attention market saturation, the way he's beating that attention market saturation is he just breaks out into other languages, like it's like 20 languages or something like that. And obviously he runs a massive dubbing company, so that helps out a lot. But yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting to break down, and you know, potentially how you could beat your total addressable market. And why I think it's dumb is because I think it's dumb in the sense that, I mean, it's actually easy to beat it almost consistently. I'm not going to say consistently, but there are ways to beat it, and it's a limiting belief, I think, on some people. But I also think it's good to know, because if you don't know what your total addressable market is, you might just be making content, right? So the guy who's making content about email marketing is never going to have a billion view video. It's just not going to happen, or even like a million view video. He might only have 20,000 views because that's what people like. There's only 20,000 people that speak English that are really interested in it. And if you translate that video, you know, maybe hypothetically you could get 30,000 views, because like maybe there's like 10,000 people in 4 different other countries that have like their own native languages that would care about it. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting to break down this topic at a high level, which is like, in theory, your video could get 8.1 billion views, but not really. It's probably 2.5, and if you speak English, maybe it's only 1.5, and you know, if it's about gaming, okay, maybe it's only like 75, and you know, if it's about a specific game, maybe it's only like 10 million, right? And you can actually like, you know, work that way on that conclusion of thinking pretty easily. And if you want to just increase your total addressable market, just translate into other languages, and you could potentially tap into those total addressable markets with similar psychological profiles if your video hits. Mr. Beast is a great one where he, you know, I mean, there's pretty adjacent video profiles in every single language, so you can translate it into 30 different things, right? But yeah, I think it's pretty interesting, and I'm sure if we see the results in the back end of that data, you know, maybe he'll see this tweet and be like, oh yeah, look at all the different videos, like all the views from these different sources, right? And like, you know, it's pretty interesting that we see like we're getting like tens of millions of views from like Portuguese or whatever, right? I don't know, maybe he'll see, maybe he won't. But that's how it works. You can basically expand your total addressable market by going up to the language level. From there, there's going to be some cultural differences and some translation differences that might like be prohibitive to some degree. And then there's also going to be some thumbnail differences in terms of like viewer profiles and viewer preferences, where it's like they might not click certain thumbnails because it's not what is normally in their market. So it becomes a little bit obfuscated. But generally speaking, if you want to increase your total market saturation or your total addressable market and break into market saturation, you can do so by dubbing your video in multiple ways. And subtitles is a great way to do it. And outside of that, there are some ideas that are just so transcendent that they naturally will be able to break out of your troll market because they're so interesting and exceptional. And if you're not getting views, the reason why is, hey, maybe you need to increase your troll market. Maybe you're too niche. And if you want more views, you can do so by, like I said, changing your language and maybe hitting some of those home run videos that are interesting to more people at a core concept. I hope this makes sense. I hope this was interesting. This was like pretty surface level stuff about the total addressable markets. And the reason why I don't like them is I think they impose limiting beliefs. I think it's good to understand what it is, so you have a grasp of who your potential audience is and how big they can be. But I also think it's an excuse for some people that they use where it's like, oh, I only got 1 million views because of XYZ. But yeah, I mean, it's a thing because you can always like beat it to a degree. But yeah, I'm sorry for rambling on. If you like this video, make sure you follow, retweet, bookmark. I've got value every single day for the next long time. So get ready to lock in, and I'll see you guys in the next one.